Today I want to show you how to use the Ashe Design Fire Photoshop style set. This particular style set comes with styles that you can load into Photoshop, but it also includes 5 PNG fire and smoke overlays that you can add to the styles to make really interesting and dynamic images of fire and adding fire to your layers. The first step is to apply the layer style. So with my layer selected, I'm going to click on the style I want to use, and then I'm going to come back to my layers palette. I'm going to right click right next to the effects, and I'm going to click Scale Effects. From here I'm going to enter a number in my scale, so I'm going to try 15% to get started and see if I like that look of that, and you can adjust it as needed, and then just click OK once you're happy with how the style is applied. Next, I'm going to add some of the PNG fire files that came with my style guide, and so I'm just going to get some of those fire styles and I'm going to bring them into my image, and I'm going to adjust the size of those PNG files, and then I'm going to place them where I want in my image. If I want them behind my text layer, I'm just going to come over to my layers palette and I'm going to move anything I want behind it below that layer, and you'll see it puts it back behind my hot layer. And then you'll just adjust those to fit where you want, and then you can duplicate the layers to add additional fire. So I'm just going to duplicate that, right click duplicate, and place it next to it. Now I want to get my erase tool and erase some of this overlap because I think there's too much fire right in the center here. So you can just customize this as much or as little as you want. This is something that you can really play with to design. I'm going to get another piece of fire here and bring it over into my project. And again, I'm going to want to resize this to fit into the piece that I'm working on. And you can see over in my layers palette that this one is still underneath my layer, so I want this one on top. I'll just adjust it in my layers palette, and then I can move it around to wherever I'd like to see it on my project. And you can try it multiple places and see what works for you. And again, any pieces that you don't want, you can just simply erase out. And then just continue to repeat that process. I'm going to bring in some more fire, make this hot, very fiery, resize it to fit. In this case, I made it too small, so I'll kind of place it where I want, and then I'll hold down my Shift key and just make it a little bit bigger to fit the way I want it to, and I can again move it around to see where I like it best and where I want it to be. And then once I'm happy with it, I'll just hit return to set that, and then I'll go get my erase tool and kind of erase out the pieces that I don't want. And you can always adjust the size of your eraser to get real fine-tuned, and you can zoom in to get real detailed. Now I'm going to bring in some of the smoke. This is another PNG file that was included, and I want the smoke to be behind my hot layer, so I'm just going to drag it in my layers palette, and then I'm going to resize this one as well. And then I'll position it where I want. I can continue to resize, just hold the shift to keep my proportions. And I'm going to position it. And then once I'm pretty happy with that, I'm just hitting return to set it. And then I'm adjusting the opacity in my layer just to bring that down a little so it's not quite so harsh. And then once that's placed where I want some more, so I'm going to duplicate the layer. Again, I just right clicked duplicate, and then I'm going to place some more smoke in there. And I might do that just one more time. So I'll go back to my layers palette, right click, duplicate layer, and then I can move that layer again where I want. Now I got a little extra smoky in the middle, so I'm just going to erase out some of that last one where it's overlapping. So I just have my erase brush, and I'm just going to take some of that out. And then I'm going to select all 3 of my smoke layers, and I'm just going to bring the opacity down just a little bit more so it's not so harsh. And you can play with that and get that wherever you like it. And you can continue to work with these as much or as little as you want. Bring in fire, take out fire, erase it, and put one more in here. I'll resize it to fit. This layer I'm going to put on top of my hot layer. I'm going to have to hold my shift key and drag that down just a little bit more, and then place that where I want. And again, I'm just going to bring the opacity down on this one a little bit so it's not quite as harsh on that top layer there. A little softer fire look. And you can do these with any of those layers. I'm going to duplicate this layer and put a little more of that fire over here on the other side of my hot words. And then again, I'm just going to grab my erase tool and I'm going to go in and erase areas where I think that there's too much fire. And really that's all there is to it. You can, like I said, add as much or as little as you want, customize it how you want, you know, erase some of those layers, change the opacity, just adjust them to fit whatever you're working on. And then in this case I'm just going to crop it down a little bit because I didn't put anything below my hot, so I'll just crop it to fit and I'll be done and can use this wherever I had planned. Thanks for joining me today.